Where else in the world can you wake up to smelling the salt water from the ocean, go diving with sharks, skydiving, and also potentially surf 50-foot waves? Well, I may have found a spot that gives you starter condos as well as luxury homes that gives you all of that right here. Welcome to the North Shore. All right, since we're in the country, we're gonna change it up a little bit. We're gonna talk about the location out here on the North Shore. So when it comes to location out here, the North Shore is really broken up into a couple different areas. You've got, of course, starting from Mokuleia and Wailua, it's gonna be more ag land. It's definitely gonna be very convenient when you wanna go to town because you're not gonna have to deal with the turtle traffic or any of the sunset traffic. And as you go down, literally, all of the North Shore is really broken into one side, which is going to be Mokuleia, Wailua, all the way over to Laie and Kahuku. Now, in between, there's going to be a couple different micro neighborhoods, and most of those areas are going to be named generally off the surf spots. I mean, they call it the 7-mile miracle because there's a different surf or wave every 50 yards. So every area, when you're talking to locals or where you're saying where you live, it's going to be, oh, I live by Pipeline or by Sunset or by Velzies or by Sharks Cove, Pupukea. These are all going to be different surf spots or general beaches. And that's kind of how they describe the locations out here on the North Shore. Now, the first neighborhood I wanted to spotlight was this neighborhood we're in right now, Wailua. The reason why is that this is a great location if you are wanting to get into the very difficult market to get into the North Shore, and maybe you're working on a bit of a budget, because they do have a fair amount of condos, anywhere from 300 to 900,000. And, you know, could be a studio, 1-bedroom, 3-bedroom, but there are a fair amount of options out here, specifically in Wailua. Now, of course, they do have single family homes, and some of them will be on larger lots, 850,000 all the way up to 1.8. So you have a couple different options. And the beautiful thing about Wailua is you get that feeling of living in a beach community, but you're also just outside of the craziness, which we'll experience, of the North Shore, Haleiwa, and that area. What do these condos actually look like? Well, recently I did have a listing that we did sell. It's actually right behind me in this fantastic apartment. So take a look right here of this beautiful walkthrough of this property out here in Wailua. Now we're in the infamous Haleiwa town. Now, this isn't mainly a place that a lot of locals go to unless they want to get some good grinds. This is Uncle Bo's, killer food, by the way. Or if you want to get some shaved ice over at Matsumoto's, but generally this is a place where a lot of the tourists come. Now, for some of the conveniences that this place somewhat lacks, this is where you would go to Malama Market, one of the only 2 grocery stores as well as the hardware store. But like I mentioned before, this is generally where you're gonna go to get some good food, get some good grinds, and then also if you wanna get your tourist fix, this is the spot for you. Now, out here on the North Shore, they like to call it keep the country country. And it does feel like you're living out in the country out here, but sometimes, no, not sometimes, actually a lot of times, out here you do have to deal with traffic. We like to call it turtle traffic. And a lot of people are asking, well, why is it called turtle traffic? Why do they even have traffic? Well, on the North Shore, you got essentially 1 lane going that way and 1 lane going this way. And there's this beach called Turtle Beach, but it's actually called Laniakea. where there's a lot of turtles that come up, and you basically can't show up and not see a turtle because it's eating the seagrass. But there's a lot of tourists specifically who generally park on the right side of the road and cross. And every time somebody crosses, it stops the traffic. And this is what you have to deal with. Usually it's sometimes between about 10 and I'd say 4 p.m. Before that, you usually can cruise through, and after you can cruise through, but traffic is definitely a thing you have to deal with out here on the North Shore. Now we're out here at one of the most unique neighborhoods out here on the North Shore. The North Shore offers a lot of different variety in the type of country living that you might be looking for. You've got Mokuleia and Wailua. It's definitely on the outskirts of the North Shore. You've got Kahuku on the complete opposite side, which is right by the shrimp trucks. And then you have this beautiful area known as Pupukea. This is just above Foodland, up in the hills, and you can get some stunning views depending on where you are, but it does offer big acreage land. So generally a lot of the properties out here are gonna be built, whether luxury homes that are brand new, but a lot of them are gonna be built in the 60s and 70s, and they're gonna be on at least 1 acre lots. Now the price point for some of the homes out here in Pupukea are gonna be anywhere from 1.5 million all the way up to $25 million, but a lot of them, again, between 1.5 and $3 million. Now in this segment, we're gonna talk about things to do out here on the North Shore, and it's all about outdoor experiences, outdoor living, but also health and wellness. So with that being said, we're gonna do this segment just a little bit different and do it in the cold plunge. All right, it was pretty hot earlier, so I was excited about this, but having second thoughts, but no turning back now. Oh, that's actually way colder than I thought. Okay. All right, we're in. Let's do this. Okay, so like I mentioned, out here on the North Shore, there's a lot of things to do. Again, a lot focused on outdoor living, outdoor experiences, and health and wellness. Now, just to mention a few, the obvious would definitely be surfing. We're out here on the 7 Mile Miracle. Now I'm starting to relax a bit. This is good. And you have some of the best surf in the world. I mean, every 50 yards, you have a different surf break that's maybe a little bit softer, some that are some of the heaviest that you'll see, not just in Hawaii, but again, in the world, and something in the middle. So surfing is definitely one of the main things you want to do out here. The second thing would be to experience the food trucks. North Shore is really famous not only for, the shrimp, but also lots of different food and diversity of food. So over in Haleiwa and then also near Kahuku, there's a lot of different food trucks where you can experience a lot of different types of food. The third thing would be diving. Now, North Shore is generally known for its surfing, but actually in the summertime, it's pretty much flat, and there's some of the best diving out here on the North Shore, not only at Sharks Cove, which we'll check out, but also you can go diving with sharks, which is one of my favorite experiences out here, in a cage and out of a cage, if you actually are feeling a little ballsy. And then of course, you can do skydiving over in Dillingham, which is one of the most amazing experiences and different way to actually see this island, because you're coming from super up high and can see the entire island and see the reef and all the different colors. It's absolutely stunning. And another thing to do, seems obvious, but I think it's something that we do need to talk about, is just enjoying the beaches. And it's definitely a different experience than going to the beaches, let's say in Waikiki, where it's a lot busier. Like they like to call this place, it's the country. So you kind of get this feeling where there isn't a bunch of people, although in certain beaches will have more tourism than others, but you can find a beach where it'll be just you and maybe your significant other for yards, maybe even miles. Additionally, hiking, there's plenty of hikes out here, whether you go to Waimea Valley or a couple other spots. There's some stunning views, especially coming up here towards Pupukea. You can get some killer views up here as well. And I would say the last thing you definitely want to experience and things to do is to go to Turtle Bay, which is now called the Ritz-Carlton. Not only can you enjoy one of the best Mai Tais on the entire island with a stunning view, but if you're a golf enthusiast like myself, they do have 2 golf courses right there in Turtle Bay. Now, we, of course, on the North Shore have to stop by the infamous Banzai Pipeline, and that's where we're at today. Oh my God. So, as you can see, we're definitely out here at Banzai Pipeline. It's a little bit of a smaller day for pipeline standards. As you can see by this footage, it can get really big and really heavy. And this place is infamous, not only for its surf, but the experience that you can have. You can see that there's tons of people here not only enjoying themselves in the water, but also enjoying the show that is Pipeline. And not only did we want to show you this beach, but we did get exclusive access from my good friend Sean to see one of his beautiful listings that has a lot of history. And for just under 7 million, you could live right here. So let's go check it out. Now, before we step into this stunning $7 million beachfront property, we need to talk a little bit about the location and also the history of this beautiful property. Now, the location, pretty obvious. You're in one of the best locations in Hawaii if you want to see some of the best surf in the world, Banzai Pipeline, and you are literally steps away from either getting in the water or enjoying the show. Now, when it comes to history, this place is rich in that history. In the 70s and 80s, it was one of the locations where it was known as the underground house, where a lot of surfers from California and Florida came out here to prove themselves during the Jerry Lopez days. And then in the 90s, basically we saw that the Vans Triple Crown had their first contest here, and they've had a contest every single year right here at Pipeline. Now, with that being said, this home has been housing not only professional surfers, also the WSL, the World Surf League, has used this house a lot to house their competitors. And now it could be yours if you're looking to purchase this property and you've got $7 million laying around. So let's go check it out. Now, this property is definitely for entertaining. Not only do you have one of the best views out there, but this home allows a lot of comfortability when you do have plenty of guests. One of those would be that it's a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,700 square feet, sitting on a 7,300 square foot lot. And additionally, all your friends are gonna wanna come over, but parking can be a bit of a challenge, but not with this property. It actually has 10 parking spots. So let's check out the rest of this beautiful property. Now, this home is jam-packed with modern amenities as it was built in 2011. If you are not feeling that beautiful ocean breeze, you can enjoy some of the split ACs. And then of course, if you want to cook, you got 2 options. There is a cooking area downstairs as well as upstairs. Now, in the downstairs area, the home is kind of conveniently split into 2 different living areas. Downstairs, there is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and then we'll show you the upstairs right now. Now, as we move on upstairs, which essentially is a second living area, it does offer 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths, as well as an area for cooking and entertaining. And the thing I do like about the upstairs is it not only has the bedrooms and bathrooms to facilitate more guests, but also plenty of sitting area. Now, this home is definitely focused not only on the view, but outdoor living. And where else would you do that? You're in Hawaii, but better yet, you're right on Banzai Pipeline. So let's check out what we got over here. Now, the inside of the home has tons of modern features, and it's absolutely comfortable and beautiful. What I really like about this house is not only the location, you're obviously right here on Pipeline, but the outdoor living space that they've created to make it very seamless. So not only do we have a lanai downstairs, but you also have a dual lanai upstairs, which gets you even a more optimal shot of Pipeline and the beach. And then also on this 7,300 square foot lot, yes, you do have the beach, which is a great backyard, but you do also have some grass down below for you and your family to enjoy. Starting to look good out there. Let's get out there. All right, well, we saw that beautiful home and the surf looks like it's really picking up and pumping. So we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna jump in the water. That's what the North Shore is all about. Outdoor living and surfing is what it's all about out here. So we're gonna jump in, and while we're at it, I wanna show you some properties around here. It's something you wanna keep in mind because living on the beach can be great, but there's some homeowners that are not really reaping all the benefits. And that's definitely something you want to factor in when you're shopping out here. So let's go check it out. Now, before we jump in the water, it does look like it's pumping. I want to talk about the different types of homes out here and construction types. So the first one is what we generally see out here. You know, originally a lot of the homes were built for the sugarcane fields. And so you'll see a lot of homes built in 50s, 60s, and 70s, single wall construction, jealousy windows. You're also gonna have ultimate modern luxurious homes like that one we saw right on the beach at Banzai Pipeline. And then you'll have, you know, homes that'll be in the mountains, homes that are on the beach, and then homes that are lifted up a bit. And there's a real important aspect to that because we're on the North Shore and during the winter there's a lot of swell. The water can come up and this beach will completely change. This is called Rocky Beach, one of my favorite surf spots. And it's generally rocky, but different times of the year, it'll be super sandy or super rocky, and that is because of erosion. And we can see that that has become a major issue, specifically from here to Sunset. So just behind me, you can see some of the homes over here where they're having a battle in between the factors of Mother Nature, DNLR, who basically controls whether you can build a seawall or not. And a lot of people are actually losing their home and they're not allowed to actually build a seawall because once the ocean erodes it and erodes that section of their home, it actually becomes a property of the state and they're not allowed to build a seawall. So there's a fair amount of people who are actually losing their homes. They bought multi-million-dollar homes that are maybe worth $1 million now because it's going into the ocean. All right, we just got out of the water, got a couple waves, got a couple beatings. Talked about home construction types, and we're just down the street from Rockies down here at Sunset. And like we discussed before, there is some erosion issues here, but what I really wanted to talk about was home prices. So they really can fluctuate. Like we noticed before in Wailua, great area for starter homes. You can find condos, 300 to 900. Over in Pupukea, prices can be anywhere from 2 to 3 million, but even some upwards of 30 million. And then right here on the shoreline, property values generally, I mean, if you're finding a house that's falling into the ocean, you can actually buy it for about 1.5 million, but generally they're gonna be in that 5 to 6 and upwards of 10 and $15 million. So the prices really fluctuate depending on the view, the size, what part of the North Shore you're on, whether you're on the beach, whether you're up in the hills with a view, or whether you're in the ag land area like Wailua and Mokuleia. Okay, now we've reached our final destination, which is Turtle Bay. We're gonna discuss pros and cons and things of that nature, but before we get into that, I wanted to talk about what Turtle Bay does offer. Now, if you're a guest at a hotel or if you're an Airbnb renter, you obviously have all the amenities that are offered here. You have, of course, the beautiful ocean, there's a pool, a gym, as well as 2 golf courses that you can enjoy. Now, with that being said, and on that hot topic of Airbnbs, this is one of the select areas that if you were an investor and wanted to own an Airbnb, a legal Airbnb, this is one of 3 areas on the entire island that does allow that. The 3 areas are basically certain parts of Waikiki, Ko'olina, and Turtle Bay because it is in a resort zone. Now, if you wanted to get your hands on one of these Airbnb-able properties, the range is a little bit heavier than what you'd see in Waikiki. Generally, for a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, they start at about 900. And for the Ocean Village just behind me, they can be upwards of $5 million.
Far out across the blue Pacific lie Hawaii's enchanted isle, crossroads of all nations.
Good somebody else's problem, living under the edge, off the road, out of the lens, and my life here means seeing clearly, seeing the trees for the leaves, going to sleep for the dreams, the dreams.
Now in proper fashion, as we have always done, we're having a beer with my fantastic videographer, JP, and we're gonna talk about the pros and cons of living out here on the North Shore. We covered a lot of information, but let's see if we can jam pack it and just bullet point a lot of it. So let's start with the pros. Pros, well, first one is amazing beaches. You have some of the most infamous surf spots and most beautiful and stunning beaches, not only in Oahu, but in the entire world. You've got, of course, Sunset Beach, Pipeline, which we checked out, Velzi's, Laniakea with the turtles. I mean, anywhere you go, there's always a different experience at each beach, and they're all within a couple mile radius. The second thing is a laid back lifestyle. This is country living out here. We are at Turtle Bay, which is a little bit more commercialized, but the rest of the North Shore is pretty country, and they like to keep it that way. That's why they keep saying, keep the country country, and I actually really love that aspect about this area. The third pro is that there's tons to do. Now, of course, there's always the surfing, but during the summertime, you can go diving, you can go sailing, you can go fishing, and then also there's plenty of hikes that you can enjoy. So that's definitely a huge pro out here, is that if you like the outdoor living and outdoor experiences, North Shore definitely offers that. The next pro would be that it's a tight-knit community out here. It's a small town. It is only a couple mile strip, and there isn't a lot of homes and only so many people. So you're gonna go to one of the two grocery stores and you're most likely gonna see somebody you know. So make sure you don't create any enemies or don't have too many exes, because you might see them at the grocery store. The last pro I would have to say is less commercialization. There isn't any major high skyscrapers, and the only major development that's really out here is ironically where we're at right now at Turtle Bay, or the new Ritz-Carlton. But pretty much everywhere else, it's very much country living, older homes, luxurious homes, but not major skyscrapers. So I would think that's kind of a major pro. All right, we talked about the pros, now let's talk about the cons. The first one would be limited amenities. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you can mean a lot by that. The first one would be that there's not a lot of big box stores. Like I discussed before, you only got 2 grocery stores. You got Foodland, Malama Market, that's it. Also, in regards to clubs, there's not really any out here. So if you're looking for nightlife, this is definitely not the spot for you. And if you need a hospital, there's only one small hospital over in Kahuku. If you need a specialist or a big hospital, that's gonna be in town, and that's gonna be a bit of a drive. So there isn't much when it comes to amenities out here on the North Shore. The second thing would be the traffic. As we experienced before, you have that turtle traffic, you have Kamehameha Highway, it goes one lane that way and one lane the other way. And if you have anybody crossing the road, it can stop all the traffic, especially right there in Laniakea or Turtle Beach. The third thing would be fewer job opportunities. We're out here in the country. The only real job opportunities out here is gonna be working at Turtle Bay, being a waitress, maybe you work for some tour company out here, but there isn't that many job opportunities out here. You'd have to either drive to town, which a lot of people don't do, or what a lot of people do out here is they are remote workers. So it's one thing to keep in mind if you are interested in this area. It's best that you already have a job, possibly remote working, or you have something set up that gives you some flexibility of when you would drive and where you would go. The next thing would be higher cost of goods. Now in Hawaii, naturally everything is already expensive because they have to ship everything over, but things are even a little bit more expensive out here on the North Shore because we are in the country. So it's a little bit further from town or some of those distribution centers, so there might be some added costs. Again, Foodland is generally more cheaper than Malama Market. If you do move out here and you're going to the grocery stores, you'll quickly find that out. Another con would be weather and flooding risks. As we saw at Sunset Beach, depending on where your house is, you might get some rain that might create some erosion, or better yet, during the winter, you get some of those massive swells that'll come in. It could erode some of the beach, erode some of your home. And because of that, if DNLR basically claims that that land is now theirs, you can't build a seawall, you can't protect your home, and you might lose your multi-million-dollar home. So that's something you need to keep in mind when shopping out here for a home, especially if it's beachfront. And the last thing that I'd have to mention is prices and inventory. This is a very beautiful and unique spot, but it's a small community and a small strip of land. So prices can be a little bit higher, as we discussed, anywhere from 300 to 30 million. And the amount of inventory out here is pretty slim. Now let's talk about who the North Shore is good for and who the North Shore may not be good for. Well, if you're someone who loves that country living, loves the ocean, loves to surf, and is okay with not having the conveniences of big box stores, then the North Shore might be for you. Also, if you are in the military, maybe you're stationed at Schofield, North Shore might not be that bad of an option because you are gonna get that lifestyle that truly feels like Hawaii, and the drive really isn't that far to Schofield. I think you're thinking about maybe about 30 minutes depending on where you're located on the North Shore, as it is a big coastline. Now, who is it not for? Well, if you're someone who has to travel to Honolulu to work, that might be a little heavy of a drive for you. You're probably looking at closer to about an hour and a half for that drive. That's maybe not even factoring in traffic. If you're somebody who likes the conveniences of maybe having a good hospital nearby, North Shore might not be for you. If you're looking for a place that, once again, has the conveniences of the big box stores and maybe more affordable prices, then the North Shore is not gonna be for you because inventory is slim and prices can be pretty high and everything is kind of far away and not that convenient. But if you are interested in the North Shore, you really need to factor in all these things. So with that being said, we covered a lot today, pros and cons, things to do. We looked at an amazing property right on Pipeline and did a little bit of surfing, which was nice to break it up a bit. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm Patrick with PatrickOnlineRealty.com, powered by eXp Realty. Hope you have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you soon. Aloha.